Although dramatised, the following is a true story. England, October 16th, 2009, 8 p.m. It was a Friday evening and I had just finished my swimming lessons when my parents had a surprise for me. "Wow, drawn to life," I said. "Can I play it when I get home?" Met with a swift "no, bedtime," and a slap across my face, I got in the car. "Please let me play the game when we get home," I repeated, but to no response. Then my dad says, "You can always pretend to go to sleep. Then, when we've gone to bed, sneak out and start playing the game." Genius, I thought to myself. That's exactly what I'll do, and that's exactly what I did. Much later, I crept out of my room, down the stairs, only to find the game left carelessly on the table. Snatching it quickly, I crept back up the stairs, cracked open the game case, and put the cartridge into my Nintendo DS. With me being completely hidden under the covers, only the bright white light of the screen illuminated the area. A beautiful melody begins to play, then followed by a dark void and foreboding text, asking me questions about what I remember from that day. What? This isn't the game I expected. Maybe it's because I never played the first one? I answered the game's questions, and then was told to draw what happened that day. Finally, this is what I signed up for. I drew a funny man in a raincoat, and submitted my drawing, which seemed to satisfy the game. Then an adorable animated cutscene plays of these funny-looking characters having a picnic. Yes, this is the game I wanted. Utterly enthralled by the animation, I kept watching. That's when the rabbit girl turned her head to reveal half her face was pitch black. That was a surprise, I thought. But I kept watching, but that's when things got worse. The food had lost its colour, and the people the girl was picnicking with suddenly began to transform into pure evil. Then, the dark entity began to drain all the colour from the surrounding area, chasing the girl until she tripped and the void catches up to her. "Wait, this isn't a happy game. I'm scared," I exclaim, but it turns out it was just a nightmare from the girl. I watch as she gets up to get some water, but a jump scare! She drops the glass of water and goes outside, then bam, another jump scare, as the birds are disturbed by a tremor. The game's logo appears, but by this point I'm utterly freaked out, so I turn the game off, shove the DS under my bed and go to sleep. That wasn't until I had the same nightmare as the girl, and I woke up in a cold sweat. I'm not playing that game, it's too scary, I thought. I then proceeded to not play the game for about 5 months until I finally had enough courage to play again. Little did I know, there were more nightmares to come. Alright, that was a dramatic retelling of when I first got drawn to life the next chapter, with a few embellishments to make it more interesting. Now I'm going to do a quick story summary to get everyone on the same page. Spoilers ahead. Alright, so we've got our 5 important characters. We've got Mari, Joey, Heather, Wilfrey and Mike. Mike's not important right now, but we'll come back to him. I've never played the first game, but Wilfrey is back and he's taken over Heather and draining the colour from the world. As the creator, we assist Mari and Joey in restoring the colour to the different lands using the Book of Life and our own personally created hero. That is until Mari goes rogue, rips pages from the Book of Life and joins Wilfrey. When we finally get to Wilfrey's castle, the pair abduct Joey and show him what made Mari join up with him in the first place. Although clearly traumatised from what he saw, Joey chooses to believe in the creator and stop Wilfrey, convincing Mari to rejoin too. Okay, now let's talk about the gameplay. I didn't think it was anything too advanced. It was just a pretty standard platformer with some collectibles and a few surprises thrown in, like 4 different weapon types and some special levels that change up the gameplay, such as a minecart level. The hitboxes could be a little janky sometimes, but were mostly consistent. There are also 3 different forms you unlock, that being your human form, a blob form and a spider form, which was undoubtedly the funnest one to play, as you could walk on walls and swing around, but the human form is the one you'll be spending the most time in. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The hero I created, the Dwayne. Dwayne! I created the Dwayne as my hero along with other Dwayne-themed merchandise, like the Dwayne weapon set or the Dwayne minecart, but after a while, I'll be honest, I got bored of the drawing aspect and just started making blocks with lines on them as they mostly did the same job. For any curious, here are my final stats. I had 13 hours of total playtime, 38 deaths, mostly due to carelessness, 40 Buckybeard coins collected, 12 villagers rescued, and all the music and hero guides unlocked. And finally, one giant thank you to Nilbs, NLBS, because without his direct footage, the video would be a lot worse. Okay, so finally, now let's move on to the game's ending. You cannot predict this ending. Even with the hints in the game, I never would have expected what I saw the first time I played. Now I understand why it gave me nightmares, and how I'd forgotten the ending. I must have repressed the memory. So get this, Mike, that guy I mentioned earlier, notice how he looks different from everyone else? That's because he's the only human. and everyone else we've encountered has been from a race called the Reposer, and it turns out he's special. Can you guess why? Is it A, he fell from a tree, hit his head, and dreamt this all up while unconscious? Is it B, he was in a car accident and is currently in a coma in hospital? Or is it C, this world is his overactive imagination and none of this is real? If you guess B, you'd be correct. Also A, but we'll get to that. So yeah, that's right. We built Wolfrey and the other villagers express how they're scared that the world's about to end, and then they get snapped out of existence. Then this ballad begins to play about the colours fading, while a slow, painted montage of a family coming back from a theme park, then getting into a car accident that then puts the sun into a coma, plays in the background. So this whole time, Mike was in a coma, and the battle with Wolfrey was to determine whether he stays in the coma or wakes up. Of course, we beat Wolfrey, so as the montage continues, we see Mike wake up to Heather, who was his sister all along, and Mari and Joey were just the toys they owned. So what an incredibly dark ending to an initially happy game. It doesn't bother me now, but as a kid, I remember it freaked me out, so I never played the game again, ultimately trading in at my local game shop for a scam price of like 50p or something. So while doing the research for this game, I discovered that they changed the ending in later releases of the game, as the game's rating board came back and said it was too dark. Luckily, the copy I managed to get off eBay still had the original ending, otherwise I would have thought I was crazy. But yeah, that's it, my trip down memory lane and reliving a classic. If I were to give it a score, I'd only give it a 5 out of 10, as although I enjoyed what the game tried to do, I'm not the target audience anymore, and despite some of the music tracks being a bop, I'll probably forget about this game again, as if it wasn't for the crazy ending, it isn't really that memorable to me. But that's just my opinion. So with that said, I give this game my completionist rating of finish it.